What's going on, tribe? I just want to give you guys a special episode here. Watch it till the end. It's basically a behind the scenes of what we do in the private community and guys really getting after it, not just saying they're going to do it, but actively taking steps day to day to improve themselves mentally, physically, spiritually. If you like today's episode, I'll leave in the description below a link for you guys how to join the private community. And we'd love to have you on the future chats, book discussions, and everything else we got planned for the community. Let this play to the end and let me know what you think. Enjoy. How is everybody doing? So I'll read some highlighted parts. If anybody's got any thoughts or we want to get into it deeper, we will. Everybody in that's just tuning in silently, that's fine. Don't worry. If you guys want to follow along. I'm on page 2 and it's under that heading of your key to a better life. So I highlighted this part because just get the basic definition down. It says the self-image is our own conception of the sort of person I am. It's been built up from our own beliefs about ourselves. But most of these beliefs about ourselves have unconsciously been formed from our past experiences, our successes and failures, our humiliations, triumphs, and the way other people have reacted to us, especially in our childhood. From all of these, we mentally construct a self or a picture of a self. Once an idea or a belief about ourselves goes into this picture, it becomes true as far as we personally are concerned. We do not question its validity, but proceed to act upon it just as if it were true. Now, that basically gives us our definition for what the self-image is. Does anybody have any thoughts about that specific section?
I can definitely see over the years for myself. Obviously, him talking about getting an image of ourselves when you're young. I guess I'm still technically in that time frame. But what young is compared to what I am now. Just thinking back to like elementary school, I was a little fucking psycho child. And so that caused me to be really timid by the time I got into like middle school and stuff like that. And I can definitely see over the years of like, just kind of giving in to anything that happened and not really having any drive or anything like that. I can definitely see why that was.
And do you have a specific point that you can literally pinpoint to an experience that may have formed that little piece of the image in your head that made you start behaving that way? Do you have that in your mind?
6th grade, it was the first time I had gotten to public school. I went to a private elementary school. Right towards the beginning of my 6th grade year, there was this one kid tried to be a bully, et cetera, et cetera. And I didn't give in to his shit, and I got in trouble for that. And so, they kind of beat that crap out of you unjustifiably.
So you would say you feel like you don't stick up for yourself as much as you should now?
As much as I should. I still do,
Okay.
just not... I let things go much too far, and then it winds up blowing up in my face instead of taking shit as it needs to.
Mm-hmm. And now that's become like a core part of yourself. So then you just automatically act that way now. Interesting how this stuff is so deep.
I avoid conflict as much as possible when I should just, deal with stuff that way it doesn't blow up in my face.
It's good. The first key is like recognizing this as we get deeper. He starts to give us tools on how to rewrite our whole self-image. So the next part I have here is literally right under that. And it's number 1. He says, all your actions, feelings, behaviors, even your abilities are always consistent with this self-image. In short, you will act like the sort of person you conceive yourself to be. Not only this, but you literally cannot act otherwise. In spite of all your conscious efforts or willpower, the man who conceives himself to be a failure type person will find some way to fail. In spite all his good intentions or his willpower, even if opportunity is literally dumped in his lap. The person who conceives himself to be a victim of injustice, one who was meant to suffer, will invariably find circumstances to verify his opinions. The self-image is a premise, a base, or a foundation upon which your entire personality, your behavior, even your circumstances are built. Because of this, our experiences seem to verify and thereby strengthen our self-images, and a vicious or beneficent cycle, as the case may be, is set up. So this was the one of the groundbreaking things for me is because once you have those childhood memories that are just burned in your brain, once you have that experience, whatever it is, the trauma, one of the examples he uses is a kid who had big Dumbo-sized ears and he got ruthlessly bullied about it. And then he became, self-conscious about his ears, which then made him a shy person, which then makes him antisocial and, just go down this rabbit hole. So because he took that initial jab at his ears being big, he then constructed this self-image about him having big ears. Now, the crazy part about that is even when people weren't looking or didn't notice his big ears, because you got bullied about having big ears, now every single person you talk to, you look at them as if they're looking for your weakness, your ears. The first thing they notice about you is your ears or the scar or the disfigurement or, being overweight or too skinny. Whatever it is that you're unhappy about for whatever that trigger was, whatever you were bullied with or what you're insecure about for whatever reason, that's the first thing you think people are thinking about you. And then you go through this perpetual cycle, whether the outcome is good or bad. When you meet people, you think, it was because this. It's because my big ears that they treated me this way. It's because my big ears that I didn't get approved for this loan or didn't get this job or that girl said no to me. You know what I mean? So that vicious cycle where you verify to yourself through like imaginary forces simply from the self-image, because this thing is all automatic. We think of our conscious as, something that there's a level of control, and then there's the unconscious, which we have zero control over. But what we learn in the book later is that actually we control all of this. It's just a machine that runs depending on what goals, or like it says here, what, short self-esteem issues you may have, focusing on big ears. That machine will only focus on big ears no matter what environment you put it in, whoever you're meeting, anything happens to you, that's at the front and center. Your big ears. Your big ears are the problem. So for me, it was recognizing some of my shortcomings. I don't have any on hand, like off the top of my head that I'm thinking about, but I could think about moments where, wow, I did approach this situation thinking about, let's say, maybe had acne or horrible skin or something in high school. And I would always look at people as if that was the only thing they could see about me is my acne or my horrible skin. But it couldn't be further from the truth because they also had acne. Their skin also sucked. We're teenagers. We're going through, hormones and all that. But because I was self-conscious because somebody had pointed out my acne, which then led me to start thinking about it, which then obsessed about it, which then like burned it into my brain as a foundational part of my ego, who I am, the kid with acne, the boy with acne. I think there was one girl that said I was very attractive, but the acne was holding me back. Something like that. It was something to that nature. It was a stupid offhanded comment. She didn't even think about it. But, that's all it takes for it to ingrain in your head that, oh shit, now this is how everybody looks at me. And now when every situation I got into socially, that was at the forefront. So if anything went wrong, I would blame it on the acne, which then I would use as proof that, hey, it's my horrible skin holding me back. This is why everything is happening to me. And therefore, you solidify your self-image, and it's almost impossible to break unless you know that this thing exists in this form as the book describes it, because you just think, well, this is the way I am. This is the truth. Here is all the evidence laid up in front of me. This girl noticed, that guy noticed, that group noticed, this person noticed. I didn't get this job, that because of this, And so that was one of the most powerful things to me because I'm like, okay, I actually can change this. It's something malleable. It's not who I am. That's how I saw this. And then it says, because of this objective proof, quotation, it very seldom occurs to a person that his trouble lies in his self-image or his own evaluation of himself. And it says to tell the schoolboy that he only thinks he cannot master algebra and he will doubt your sanity. He has tried and still report card tells the story. Tell the salesman that it is only an idea that he cannot earn more than a certain figure and he can prove you wrong by his order book. He knows only too well how hard he's tried and failed. Yet, as we shall see later, almost miraculous changes have occurred both in students' grades and in earning capacity of salesmen when they were prevailed upon to change their self-images. And then I have another part. So that was part number 1. And then he goes part number 2, and this is what I was alluding to. The self-image can be changed. And he goes on to say numerous case histories have shown that one is never too young or too old to change his self-image and thereby start to live a new life. One of the reasons it seems so difficult for a person to change his habits, his personality, or his way of life has been that heretofore, nearly all efforts at change have been directed to the circumference of the self, so to speak, rather than to the center. Numerous patients have said to me something like the following: if you're talking about positive thinking, I've tried that before and it just doesn't work for me. However, a little questioning invariably brings out that these individuals have employed positive thinking or attempted to employ it either on particular external circumstances or on some particular habit or character defect. For example, I will get that job, or I'll be more calm and relaxed in the future. This business venture will turn out right for me. But they've never thought to change their thinking about the self that was to accomplish these things. And then it has a nice quote here. It says Jesus warned us about the folly of putting a patch of new material on an old garment or of putting new wine into old bottles. Positive thinking cannot be used effectively as a patch or a crutch to the same old self-image, which again is something I experienced in my life because I came across all these positive affirmations and all these self-help books, and they're always talking about your mentality. You have to think positive. You have to think that you will achieve. You have to do all these things that, again, wasn't working for me, just like for so many people. I said, yeah, positive affirmations sounds like bullshit. None of this stuff is effective. This is stupid. Reciting this shit in your head over and over doesn't help you. And of course it doesn't, because I didn't actually do the due diligence of changing who I thought I was, who I saw myself as. I was only trying to do like superficial shit, like, say you're going in for a job interview and it's like, I won't fuck this up. I'll make sure I do a good job. I'll be calm. I'll say all the right things. Just act smooth, like dumb shit like that. Affirming to yourself, superficial stuff. But that's in spite of like, oh, fuck, I'm really nervous about, will I get this job or not? What was the interviewer going to think about me? Things like that. You're not getting to the deep rooted issue of the problem of how you view yourself. Why do you view yourself as like a nervous wreck during the interview? Why do you think they won't like you? What evidence do you have? If you really dig deep, you have no evidence whatsoever. You'll affirm your own bullshit to yourself, like we read earlier, by saying, well, that one moment in my life, well, that one experience and that interaction with this person, that's how I know. That's my proof. But as we learn, that's not actually true. Anybody want to chime in on any other of their experiences before I keep going?
Yeah, sure. I would just say this all rings very true to me. And I've experienced this in the past. People often ask you a question, are you more of an introvert or an extrovert? And I've long found it hard to answer that question because it really depends on the situation and how I am feeling in that context, whether it's a work-related situation or a social situation. And I've contemplated this after the fact, like, why do I feel so confident and extroverted sometimes, and I feel very unsure of myself and introverted in other situations? And it often just felt random, like I just gotta hope for sunny weather. I hope it doesn't rain. So I'm looking forward to reading this book to see how I might be able to exert more influence, if not control over how I'm assessing myself relative to others in a work or a social context. One example, I aced a series of job interviews. They hired me. They obviously felt I was qualified, but when I entered this workplace, for whatever reason, I was feeling unqualified. And it's as if I had a completely different personality on the job than I previously did in my series of interviews. You would think it would be the opposite, that you feel more confident. You jump through all the hoops, you pass their tests. But I undermined myself by conceiving of myself as unqualified or unfit or just inferior to my new colleagues. This was several years ago, but that's something that stuck with me. And I've experienced this phenomenon both on the upside and the downside over the years. And like I said, it changes, but I feel like I'm not always the one exerting the influence or determining how I feel about myself and therefore how I behave in a work or a social situation.
It's very interesting because I've experienced very similar things to you, where I've had bouts of like extreme confidence, like euphoria, just I felt great about myself. I entered in similar situations, absolutely crushed it, feeling high about myself in that manner. And then there will be a day or two later where I almost revert back to something akin to like, being unsure and doubting everything. And oh my God, like imposter syndrome. I can't believe maybe I got that job, or I don't deserve to be where I am, or exactly so I've always thought about like, why does this happen? Is there a way to control this? How do I feel like I belong or I deserve what I have or whatever it is? I don't know. I've always thought, okay, I know that for that day that I felt really good, I saw myself as exactly who I dreamed of being. I believed almost like 100% with zero doubts that I am actually exactly the person I dream of being. There is no difference. I'm actually living it in the moment, and I behave congruent with that. And then for some reason, whether a trigger, a form of like some sort of stressor in my life, or yeah, what other way to describe it other than like a trigger happens from something or a memory, right? Just pops into your mind that reverts you back into that shell of who you think you are the day prior. And so because that self-image has reverted back to whatever the negative aspects of you are, you start to behave again with that negative aspect, manifesting itself outwardly into how you interact with people, how you are at work, your confidence, and everything else that goes with it. It's insane that this is something that I feel like we're going to have to just constantly work on and master until we're dead, because I've read this book from front to back, and it's something that you start to forget over time. You constantly need to come back to it. But building this self-image, I feel like it's a lifelong thing, because life itself is a lifelong thing until you stop breathing. Meaning, you will always have new inputs that may chink at the armor you've built up around that self-image. Your new you will always be tested by the world, by your experiences, by other people. Everything you come across till you're dead will be a test of that new image. And I feel like in order to fully grasp, I guess, the cornerstone of what this book is teaching, who you are to yourself, you have to realize that this isn't a one and done, that this test will be forever, that this is something you build forever. Every single day, you constantly reestablish who you are to yourself, in spite of all the new, quote, traumas, experiences, and whatever else you go through in life. Because it just doesn't make sense to me that this would be a one-time thing where you, for example, create the perfect image of yourself in your mind, and then the rest of your life is in front of you with all those experiences, traumas, the ups and the downs, all that. And then somehow this image perseveres. It's almost like, if you want to imagine it, you build a great wall. Behind it is you. And then there's like an army in front. And every day they try to break a little bit of the wall down. A little bit of the wall breaks down. And then you just have to constantly go back and patch over all the breaks to make sure the wall holds. I think what happens is a lot of people don't even know that wall exists. So when it breaks down the first time, the army marches through the gates nonstop, over and over, every single day. Every single day you get reaffirmed the negative experiences. So every single day you have this, I guess you could say, unabated, like zero control over your image, because it's dictated by every single experience you're having externally. That's like living a form of hell on earth, because you're not who you want to be. You're simply the person everybody tells you are, because they have that unfeathered access into yourself. Your self-image isn't guarded. You haven't built that wall up, and you haven't affirmed it every single day. So that's one of the takeaways I've had from this book, is that this is just going to be something that we have to be mindful of every day, especially when, I don't know, say you go on a date, man, and something goes wrong, and she may make a comment that may trigger something. Obviously, you're building this new image of yourself. You're coming into this confidence, and you have to stop it right then and there and understand that it's not deeper than a passing comment this woman made. It shouldn't affect your ego or the image of yourself, and that what would happen if you let this fester, right? And that wall comes down, and now you start to build up, I am the person of which this comment she made, and this is who I truly am. And then you start to behave that way. This is also, funny enough, this is what I think the problem with incels are. Talking with a bunch of them, a lot of them are not ugly. I've mentioned this on the stream plenty of times on the videos. They're actually decently looking. The one guy that I talked to that was really interested in getting to know was like, he was shredded, dude, had a six-pack. It's the self-image that's destroying a lot of these guys. A lot of them have had horrible experiences where a woman made a comment, a girl that they had a crush on, and that forms the basis of their confidence with women, their nervousness around women, and the general energy that women talk about, that they feel, the creep thing that they mention. That's that guy that has created a self-image of himself based on the comment of one or multiple women that they've made about them. So when they approach a woman in the very first few seconds, that's at the front, unconsciously, without them even noticing that that negative aspect of themselves. You can see it out in the open. A woman picks up on that very easily. So these guys will literally kill their chances with women, with making friends with other men, or just being antisocial in general, simply for that self-image that they have of themselves, that they reaffirm through those experiences too, by the way, because every experience hereforth is bad. Therefore, it is true what they say about me. It is true what they say about women. It is true, and it's just constantly solidified in their head, which then causes them to slide deeper and deeper and deeper in that negative aspect's direction, which they'll come out being more and more and more radical. It's kind of nuts to watch because on the outside, you're just a third party. You're looking at this person and you have none of these negative aspects. You don't see anything anywhere near resembling what they see of themselves, almost disfigurement, that they look at themselves as like, how they meme, the incel memes are like, Chad has the jaw, blue eyes, blonde hair, and he's like super dry. And an incel just looks like the most decrepit, Gollum looking human being. They see themselves in that aspect of like a Gollum looking human being. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Most of these guys look completely normal. Yet they behave, their outwardly manifestation, the energy they give off is like that fucking Gollum thing from Lord of the Rings. Like my precious, like they give off that real nasty creep, like squirrely ass energy. And it just turns everybody off. Like even as a man, just like to befriend another man, they have this weird squirrely energy and it's like, ugh, man, there's something fucking wrong with you. Instantly, you just pull away. Imagine it would be the same for women, and it is. But they don't realize this. You see, so that's just another that's another real world example we have of the quote self-image, how important it is and how it manifests in our day-to-day lives. Anybody else want to add on to that or keep going?
I was just going to say, I don't think in the industry I'm in, I've had a single person who doesn't have days where they've like imposter syndrome for coding and stuff like that. Like there's days I think I'm the best coder ever, and then other days where I'm just like, I am the worst coder ever. How do I do this job? It's just like it's like regularly, like basically. I think what I was going to say there, I'd almost forgotten, was basically you have weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses, and there's weaknesses you accept, and then there's weaknesses that you feel insecure about. And if somebody points at one of those, that's your trigger generally.
Yes.
And then once that's triggered, then you know other things might come down, because there's parts of my job that I know that I'm just like, even on my worst coding day, I'm very good at, but I still feel crap. I have a problem or something like that there, and it just happens all the time. But like the other people are comforted; they know that I feel that way, because they seem to think that I would never feel that. So
right, yeah,
it's not bad to share these things either.
And that's very interesting. You see how they look at you from the outside, like the third party perspective versus how you see yourself with the self-image you've built. Like you think you're not good at that, but they look at you and like, this guy clearly is confident about everything he does. Obviously, he doesn't worry about coding at all. Very interesting.
Little did they know.
Yeah, little do they know, right? So interesting. And then he has kind of a mind-blowing realization that he says, the secret is this, to live, to really, quote, live. That is to find reasonably satisfying. You must have an adequate and realistic self-image that you can live with. You must find yourself acceptable to you. So again, a lot of us are living this life where the path we're on is the path chosen for us by parents, by social media, by peer pressure, friends, maybe teachers, people at work, anybody we look up to. A lot of the lives that people live, they truly don't find themselves until their later years, 50, 60, where they finally actually stop caring. Right near, the point of death is when a person usually breaks out of this shell and starts to be themselves. That's one of the things old people say all the time. I wish I believed in myself more. I wish I just listened to myself more. I wish I did what I liked to do more instead of listening to everybody else telling me what to do. So I think a lot of people are in this predicament where we're simply just floating through life at the whims of everybody else. It's like they have their hands on our sail directly and they're blowing us in the direction that they want us to for their own, problems with their own self-image and trauma and all this that they're imparting onto us without even knowing. It goes on to say, when this self-image is intact and secure, you feel good. When it is threatened, you feel anxious and insecure, or especially in the world today, depressed. Yeah, anxious. Depression is a big one today for sure. When your self-image is adequate and one that you can be wholesomely proud of, you feel self-confident. You feel free to, quote, be yourself and to express yourself. You function at your optimum. When it is an object of shame, you attempt to hide it rather than express it. Creative expression is blocked. You become hostile and hard to get along with. And this is one of the things where for the Spartan challenge, I've always said, when you align mind, body, and spirit, that's what I was talking about. That's basically getting the action part of your self-image aligned. And that's when you experience, quote, happiness, That's when you really beat, man, the anxiety, the insecurity, the depression, everything that plagues people today. is literally when you align those three things. But he says it simply here. It's just when your actions and your self-image are aligned, that's when you feel like your purpose is true. That's when you feel true to yourself. And that derives the deepest, longest lasting form of, happiness, pleasure that you could experience. Because I don't know, I've had unhappy moments in my life where I thought I was on the right path. I was going to college. I was doing everything people were telling me to do. I was studying hard. I was trying to be a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist. And that's not what I wanted deep in my soul. But I was just told that this is the path. It made everybody else happy, which therefore I thought would make me happy. But the closer I got to that goal, the more and more anxious, the more and more depressed, the more and more angry, the more disconnected I felt with myself on a deeper level. And that manifested in me being unhappy, directionless, engaging in stupid things like hookup culture and one-night stands and whatever else, binge drinking, a ton of parties, wasting my time, seeking attention from others in that manner, and love from flings like that, right? To fill the black hole that was constantly building up because my life was drifting further and further apart from my quote self-image of who I wanted to be. Because we all have this, it's like a little spark in us. You dream of your perfect life. You dream of the man you want to be. You have an idea already of who you ideally want to be. And then there's you in the real world who lives a completely different life almost, simply because of you're afraid of the hard work that may need to be done to become the perfect version of you, or as perfect as you can be, because there is no perfect, but the idealized version, I would say. Or you're following the path set upon you by, say, parents or friends or whatever, just like I was. And that disconnect is where all this damage happens. Now, the hardest part is the conflict that arises from you starting to follow yourself, your true self, and say disappointing your parents. I know that's a big one for the younger guys here, because maybe your dad and your mom worked really hard to get you to college to have a better life, but that may not be, exactly what you want out of life, which is in a weird way holding you back, because that may be the safe route, but that may be, if you were to take your life in totality, man, I've thought of it like this myself. What if at the end of the day, when you take your last breath and you look at your life in totality, that yardstick that you're using to measure all your accomplishments is much shorter for the safer path, rather than if you found your way doing the things you love to do or the things that draw you the most, because that gives you the most, what would you call it, staying power, the ability to chase goals long term, to be able to go 100% every single day in lieu of obstacles. You could only really do that if you're chasing something you truly love doing. You'll burn out really quick. Like burnout is simply, the absence of, what could you call it, passion in what you're pursuing. That's what I look at burnout as. I've never seen successful people, quote, burn out simply because they found their path in life that truly resonated with them. And no matter what happens to them, what obstacles and shortcomings they experience, it's not an obstacle or shortcoming because it's their passion. You hear that rare thing where people say, my work doesn't feel like work. You ever heard somebody say that? Like they're just jolly about their life. They have the most incredible job of all time because it feels like a hobby to them. It's something they love doing. My work is not really work. These are the people that have staying power, that achieve the most. Simply because, can you imagine waking up doing something you love doing and getting paid for it? Is an obstacle really an obstacle then? Or is it just an interesting part of your day, And who of these people, you, the version that's going to school doing God knows what, maybe because you were told to, because the counselor at school told you this is a good career and it pays $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year, or, you pursuing whatever it is on a deeper level that really resonates with you. It's very interesting, man. I've had that conversation with myself, and ultimately I chose to become a business owner, which is what I really wanted to be, my own man. And it led to all of this eventually. It led to me finding different ways to make money, how to build a business, learning new skills I would have never thought or never learned in a book or in a class. And it's been the best decision I've ever made, especially after starting a business. From there on, it was like a domino effect. Because I succeeded there, that success gave me some confidence to try new things, and not only try new things, but confidently try them, not dip my toe, but jump all in, no plan B. This will succeed. I don't care. I don't know how, but I'll make it happen. That was the mentality I gained, the intuition I got, the wisdom from starting up a business. Because I didn't have all the answers then either, but it still became successful because I found them along the way. Now I applied what I learned there to other aspects of my life, and sure enough, it worked again, over and over and over again. So that's one of the gold nuggets I got from that experience, and I try to replicate it every single day. Today, I'm more convinced than ever that what each of us really wants deep down is more life, happiness, success, peace of mind, or whatever your own conception of supreme good may be, is experienced in its essence as more life. So there you go. That basically explains why I felt lifeless going to college, learning something I didn't really care about, didn't have passion for, yet still progressing in what society would call a successful direction. Yet why am I more unhappy than ever? You know, so I was directly feeling that personally. I don't know how many of you may be in that boat right now or have also been in that boat before, but thoughts on that before we go on? Anybody want to share anything?
I've been a computer guy ever since I can remember. But it especially kind of kicked off in middle school with my tech teacher, Mr. Maneth. Like I've always had an interest in, the physical parts to the computer, building the computer, fixing it, et cetera, et cetera. And any time that I try to go in and find some kind of work that is pertained to that, it's either so full because there's so many people, or they want somebody that they can just drop in the job and they don't have to worry about training them or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so I've had to, over time, kind of redirect a couple of times. And honestly, I just want to fucking build and fix computers, dude. And I was thinking about it. It's not just computers. I'd like to just build and fix shit. And so as of recent, like the past, I don't know, 2-3 weeks or so, I've been kind of really thinking about it. And it's like, I've gone in, I've tried to learn programming. It just, I can't focus long enough to do that. I've gone in and I've tried to do like data analysis and all that other kind of stuff. It's like, it makes sense, but it's just not, it doesn't have that like drive to do that exact thing, right? But then I turn and I look at, I watch like a miscellaneous YouTube video or something of somebody building a computer or people going over the specs of a new like a computer tower or whatever. And it's like, I want to make that, I want to go in, I want to have my own brand for that shit. And I figure like I have my, my grandfather and my uncle, they do a lot of woodworking, and my grandfather did welding back in the day. So it's like, I'll just do artistry shit. It's like you go in, you see all these computer cases and everything. It's like plastic, titanium, and all that other kind of stuff. I'm gonna make a brand based around beautiful wooden and glass computer towers. Like that's the end goal. But obviously, I have to do something practical to be able to get to that idealized point. Of course. Right? So I'll do, tables and chairs and all that other kind of shit, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's a great one, then.
Because it's like, for so long, I thought I was just good with computers and that was it. But it's like, any time that something happens, it's like for a long time, I haven't, pursued any artistic anything and any building anything or anything of that nature. Because it's like, I was always like, I'm just good with computers. I'll stick with computers. But then it's like, I look back on it, and every single time that I'd help my grandfather or my uncle with something, it's like, I enjoyed that experience. Why not continue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a beautiful idea, too. That's super unique. Glass and wooden towers that has your own artistic, like artisanal twist on it, man, would sell like hotcakes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are people out there that there's like these really fringe companies where they've gone in and they've made computer towers that are just shaped like tanks, where it's like where the treads would be, or like your inflow and outflow for your fans and stuff like that. But you fit all your parts inside of a tank, right? So it's like, why not try some shit like that, right? I mean, it sells.
Right. Yeah. Now, there's always going to be a market if the passion is there from you, because people love seeing somebody that's fully engrossed in what they're doing. Like, you can sell somebody fucking a bag of rocks. If that dude is excited about the rocks in the bag, someone's going to buy them. That's what's missing. If it's their true passion, dude, you're going to start learning how to do artistic shit, designs in the wood, maybe take some glass blowing classes and start learning how to forge some cool designs. And then you're going to learn how to forge them together, wood and glass. And then boom, there it goes. You have your first like prototype tower that you make, and you sell that shit. And then, oh my God, somebody actually bought it. And then boom, now it's a fucking business, man. And your life changes. And that's just you following the path. And it was exciting all the way through. Is there going to be like obstacles and shit? Of course. But again, they don't feel like obstacles because that's something your brain likes. How do I implement glass and wood together, right? Would be an obstacle for somebody thinking of this. But for you, it's like, it's an exciting problem to solve because of all the cool ways you could think up of doing it. That seems far more in line with what I should do in my life than like the story of, I like computers and coding, I'm going to do some coding shit, You could just tell in the way you talk about it too. It's immediate. You can feel it in people. And then got another part here that's highlighted. It says, well, he tries to describe what the subconscious mind is really like, the way people think about it. And it says the latest and most usable concept is that man does not have two minds. And, I always say that we have like the lizard brain inside of us. There's two of us, but it says, but a mind or consciousness that operates an automatic goal-striving machine. So the lizard brain is your like lower self, the automated version that just like, oh, I'm near the edge of a cliff, palms get sweaty, I'm getting dizzy, back away. It just happens automatically without you thinking. Logically, there's no reason for you to have those autonomic responses because logically you're not going to jump. But your lower half, the lower consciousness is like, oh shit, danger. Back away because I don't know how many of us died. It's just encoded in our genes. Don't walk off cliffs, stupid. So that's an interesting one. So think of it that way because it's important when we go on into the next sections because it says the creative mechanism within you is impersonal. It'll work automatically and impersonally to achieve goals of success and happiness or unhappiness and failure, depending on the goals that you yourself set for it. Present it with success goals and it functions as a success mechanism. Present it with negative goals and it operates just as impersonally and just as faithfully as a failure mechanism. So these are the turds that you always hear about, everybody else is, why doesn't luck ever come my way? That guy's so lucky to be rich. That guy's so lucky he's making all that money. They see it as luck when the other person sees it as hard work, as actions being put, goals being met, goals created and being pursued. The other person sees it as something outside of himself. I've always noticed that one. That's the one I notice the most in people. And when you look for negative things, like if you always have, if you're looking for a problem, this is another one I saw at the bar. Guys would always come in there with a sourpuss fucking mood, get drunk. They were already trouble from the start. The moment they walked in, you can feel the energy, right? You can feel that self-image metastasizing out into the world in front of you because they got a stanky ass attitude. They're looking to get fucked up to numb themselves and they're actively goading people into issues. These are the guys going into bars to get into a fight or whatever, shit they're going through in their lives, but you could always spot them immediately. They wear it on their face. And that's another person. You look for a problem, sure enough, you'll find it, right? That saying. And it says here, this is page 13, by the way, there's a little square box. It says Dr. Maltz makes it clear that all of us have goals, whether we intentionally articulate them or not. The brain and nervous system are continually leading us in the direction of images. Okay, that's like a key part of this. We think about consciously, or images that are so much a part of us that we led toward them on autopilot. The alcoholic or drug addict has goals just as much as the entrepreneur, politician, professional athlete, or mother-to-be. With this in mind, we can become aware of what's under the hood and whether or not we want the goals we're unconsciously moving toward or the ones that we consciously choose and work toward. So again, you want a problem, you'll find it. If you're constantly thinking about like a drug addict, for example, it's a funny one to use, I guess, because they're always thinking about the hit. Their entire day revolves around getting their next high. And that everything they do from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep is achieving a high. And they'll stop at nothing to get it. And this is why those that lose control tend to spiral down so fast. It goes from like, imagine a gambler too, for example. It goes from like losing a few bucks here to then losing a couple thousand to then losing your car to then losing your house to then like getting in debt, borrowing money from like loan sharks right? It's like it's nonstop. You're chasing the high at all cost and your brain is finding, quote, solutions for you to get the high. Whether it's something as stupid as like going to a loan shark that'll fucking take a bat to your knees or kill you if you don't pay the money on time. Doesn't matter. The solution's there. We found it. And your brain works in a successful manner just as extreme. It's just you have to put those goals in front of you, which is, again, why they say it's super important. This is why I do it too. I have a whiteboard and I write down my goals and I had it broken down between 1 year and then it would be something like the long-term vision. It could take 5 years, 10 years. It didn't matter. It was just, I didn't put a time on it. I just let the, quote, servo mechanism is what he calls it here, your little success mechanism, find its way to the end goal. I had my rigid stuff I wanted to complete this year. And then I had the overarching, like, here's who I dream of being in the long term. And I'll let my brain figure that out subconsciously as I go through day by day, achieving all the other little things for the year. And that works. And then he goes on to say, the goals that our own creative mechanism seeks to achieve are mental images or mental pictures, which we create by the use of imagination. The key goal image is our self-image. So that's like your foundation. And then it says, our self-image prescribes the limits for the accomplishments of any particular goal. It prescribes the quote area of the possible. So what you could dream of doing, what you could believe, you can achieve. Like that saying, as long as you can believe anything, you can achieve anything you believe. And that's really the true like essence of all of this, because what else is limitations but the thing in between your ears? The only person that really stops you is you. If you don't think you can do something, then you won't do it. And I mean, and it's really, it comes down to that simply. Welcome into all the guys silently listening. I guess I'll keep going. Okay. So on this is page 30, and we have it where it says practice exercise. Get a new mental picture of yourself. It says the unhappy failure type personality cannot develop a new self-image by pure willpower or by arbitrarily deciding to. There must be some grounds, some justification, some reason for deciding that the old picture of the self is in error and that the new picture is appropriate. You cannot merely imagine a new self-image unless you feel that it is based on truth. Experience has shown that when a person does change his self-image, he has the feeling that, for one reason or another, he, quote, sees or realizes the truth about himself. The truth in this chapter can set you free of an old, inadequate self-image. If you read it often, think intently about the implications and hammer home its truths to yourself. Okay, and then I have it's a two-part here. It says, number one, your built-in success mechanism must have a goal or target. This goal or target must be conceived of as already in existence now, either in actual or potential form. It operates by either one, steering you to a goal already in existence, or two, discovering something already in existence. Because the automatic mechanism is theological. That is, it operates or must be oriented to, quote, end result goals. Do not be discouraged because the means whereby may not be apparent. It is the function of the automatic mechanism to supply the means whereby you supply the goal. Think in terms of the end result, and the means whereby will often take care of themselves. So that's what I was talking about. That second type of the automated mechanism there is where I want to be this person, whatever that definition is. I don't know how I'm going to get there or when I'm going to achieve this, but this is who I see myself as. And then the success mechanism, the automatic part of your brain, starts to go in there and start leading you to. Now, that may be if you see yourself as a healthy person going to the gym, working out and having a nice body, it may be that you automatically will feel the need to eat healthier, that you may cut back on soda, that you would rather get a salad or a steak instead of chips and whatever else, right? Or that you see yourself as somebody that goes to the gym every single day and you might start feeling weird if you skip a day, right? This all starts happening. This is all automatic in your brain. When I got my most fit, when I was going to the gym every day and I was eating like a maniac, I had a weird, I almost want to call it out of body experience where there's a disconnect between what I was seeing in the mirror and what I actually looked like. While I was getting fit, I already saw what I looked like, my complete version. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see what everybody else saw, just a normal dude working out or just getting in shape. I saw me already ripped, already was running multiple miles every day. That was already me. And because I believed that's who I was, even though in reality I wasn't at the time, I slowly started walking step by step towards that realization. And sure enough, it made everything really easy because there was a passion there and an excitement. I couldn't wait to actually become that, but I believed that I was that. And so when it got hard, when I didn't want to work out, it wasn't even an option. That's not what this person does, aka me, that's in shape. I don't go because I don't feel like it. I just work out. That's a part of my day. What are you talking about? You know, which in turn made me realize, quote, that potential in myself. So the two types of goal you have to set essentially is the automatic mechanism one that he talks about, the end result. You don't have to have a date on it, but you just have to have the imagination needs to be absolutely crystal clear. You need to vividly imagine yourself in this end stage of whatever it is you want to be in life, the type of man you want to be, the business you want to run, the money you want to make. You have to visualize it as if it's actually happened. What would that really look like? Down to the clothes you're wearing, the house you're living in, wife, the kids, the job, your office, the shoes you're wearing. Like, get as detailed as you possibly can, because that's the way you ingrain this self-image into yourself. It has to be that detailed. It can't be some abstract, like when people say, well, what are you doing for New Year's? I just want to lose weight. You will fail 100% of the time. I want to lose weight isn't a proper goal to set for yourself. The person who succeeds says, well, by June, I want to lose 40 pounds and I'm going to start by, here's my daily goals, cut out sugar, cut out soda, cut out carbs, and then I'm going to go to the gym and do, here's my exercise plan. That's the person who succeeds. That's the person who has goals and steps in front of them to take every single day. The guy that just says, I want to lose weight, isn't going to do shit, because by week 2, he's going to be one of the millions that will stop being in the gym because it got hard all of a sudden. Because week 2 is when the grind starts. And maybe he hit a snag because he got hungry and he had to stay in and work extra late. So he grabbed a burger and now fuck it, I broke my diet. It's okay, one more day. And boom, a new habit is formed. And then the stresses of life and boom, they've reverted back into who they were and who that person, the decisions they make every single day. That's how you have to use imagination. It's to that extent. This isn't something we can just simply, will into existence by speaking it. You have to pretend, man, like when we were kids and you played cops and robbers, you have to imagine yourself running through the yard, that stick made of wood is a gun. That's what made it fun. That imagination that you thought for that moment that you were the bad guy or the cop, right? And you were chasing somebody and put them in jail with fake handcuffs and all the other shit we used to do as kids. That's how you have to be as an adult, except now you have to take that imagination, that power, and apply it to who you want to be as a man. And then your brain will do the rest to get you there. And then the first part of that was, again, your built-in success mechanism was the one where you had, and it said the goal or target that must be conceived of as already in existence now. Something like, for example, I want to lose 30 pounds. Like that's already achievable now. It exists. It has an end point. You know how to get there right now. 30 pounds, cool. Make the game plan to get down 30 pounds. Anybody's thoughts on these two? And then again, this is part of the Spartan challenge too, by the way, but continue.
I would say that automatic mechanism rings true for me. I believe for it to work, it's critical that, as you said, you vividly visualize success and focus on that, not just the absence of failure. An example sprung to my mind from years ago. I was playing golf. Not a great golfer, but I'm a former caddy. As a caddy, always fantasized about being on the other side. And so my brother and I were golfing, and I was just playing the best game of my life, hitting straight all day long. And we got to a par 3. I should be able to reach the green from my drive, but there was a goose slightly to the right of the green. And my brother said, do you want to wait for that goose to move on? And I said, no, I've been hitting straight all day. It doesn't matter. But sure enough, in my head, I'm thinking, don't hit that goose, right? And for the first time in the midst of the best game of my life, hitting straight every hole, of course, I hit the goose square in the head. It coupled its feathers and then collapsed. And I felt horrible. I thought I killed the damn goose, but thankfully it came to and walked away. So I felt like I had a new lease on life. But I think that's an example of the subconscious providing the means to realize what is in your mind. I was not really focused on success on the green. I was thinking about the damn goose. And it's not like when you're swinging a golf club or playing any sport, really, you're not explicitly in your mind breaking down step by step. Okay, I've got to switch my muscle and move at this angle. It just kind of happens automatically with your goal in mind. The subconscious pulls it all together. And so it's critical that you focus on that goal, not just, I better not fuck this up or I better not fail.
Yes.
Because what are you thinking about? You're thinking about fucking it up. You're thinking about failing, and the subconscious might steer you in that direction.
Exactly. That's a point he makes too, especially on the third one, temporary failures or mistakes. And he has a point here, says, do not be afraid of making mistakes or of temporary failures. All servo mechanisms achieve a goal by negative feedback or by going forward, making mistakes, and immediately correcting course. So he uses an example of a guided missile, how the way it goes from A to B, the way it tracks its target is by a series of failures. If it like course corrects in real time by going off course and immediately course correcting, right? So it reads, hey, you're too far to the left, need to go back into the center so we can hit the target bullseye. Hey, you're drifting too far to the right, need to go back a little bit to the left. It's a constant series of mistakes that it's making and correcting for. Now, we've been raised, I don't know about you guys, but we've been raised to fear failure and making mistakes and hardly ever get the, wisdom of that it's a learning experience and that it should be embraced, or that it's a natural process of advancing in anything new, especially. That took a while to learn and unlearn because you want to be perfect. Some of us have that issue with perfection that it cripples a lot of people from starting anything because they want to be everything to the T on point. And that's just not real. That's not how life works. Everything you love doing in your life right now, you were a newbie at it at one point and you made a ton of mistakes. And through the learning process, you've acquired that skill. Now it's very enjoyable for you to do whatever it is, that hobby may be, or, whatever love you have for, say, some guys love video games. Maybe Caleb does the sword stuff. What do you do, Caleb? What is it called? Can't remember what he does. Fencing. There we go. So he does fencing. He probably hated it in the very beginning. He probably sucked, but now he enjoys it because he's gotten, good enough at it that now he can treat it as some form of, what would you call, mastery. It's fun now. He's always getting better, but he's gotten past the hard part of getting his ass beat nonstop. And then it keeps on going. Skill learning, which is what we are going into, of any kind is accomplished by trial and error, mentally correcting aim after an error until a successful motion, movement, or performance has been achieved. After that, further learning and continued success is accomplished by forgetting the past errors and remembering the successful response so that it could be imitated. So getting stuck on making mistakes, that's a big one. That cripples a lot of people. I know it's crippled me in the past. Being obsessive about making mistakes cost my business some money on some deals. Then that's all I can think about. Then in turn, it might cost me more money on other deals because I'm overcorrecting for something that I shouldn't have. And then you get into this negative feedback loop, which again, doesn't serve you. Instead of looking at it as, here's a mistake that you can learn from, don't make it on the next one, but keep everything else up until that point. Don't overcorrect everything up until the point, just correct right at that moment. That was the one mistake I made. Move on from that section with the knowledge you gained prior. Anybody else want to add or just generally chime in? We're done with the sections that I had highlighted. Thoughts from the guys? And there's a lot more to the chat than just where we left off. The rest of that is going a bit off topic and just the guys having, more private conversations about anything else not related to the book discussion we just had. If you did listen to then, thank you so much. It does help tremendously in the algo when you watch the video all the way through. Please like, subscribe, share it with all your friends if you may think it'll help them. And as I stated at the beginning of the video, links in the description below if you'd like to join. And if you're looking to make a difference in your life and you're truly ready, you're not just saying it, and you want to take actionable steps and you want to be held accountable by other men, the link, like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the video, will be in the description below. And we look forward to having you there. So take care, guys. Hope you like this one.